Hello, good game. Welcome back, ghouls and goblins. Thank you all so much for taking the time to support the channel. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Naya Ruins. Oh no, the Elden Ruin. Right? Yes. This is the deck I used to reach Mythic rank 13 in Traditional Standard, also known as Best of 3, within the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty set, which is super exciting. So if you're looking to rank up super easily, this is the way. And it's actually a really fun deck to pilot as well. If you're unfamiliar, Naya is the color combination of white, red, and green. We'll be free casting runes through a really nice synergy, which we'll reveal in a second, talking about the deck list in depth, the strategies, the synergies. Moving on after that into the gameplay footage to discuss our playlines and interactions, giving you a deeper understanding. And then we'll wrap up with our final thoughts, deck review, and community news as well. So buckle up, get ready, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, become a YouTube member because we did a box opening and we are actually going to have new original content coming out for our members on a consistent basis, which is super exciting. So don't miss out on that as well. Become a YouTube member today, but most importantly, just enjoy today's gameplay. But before we get into the gameplay, we got to show you guys the deck. And, the gameplay's fun, it's exciting, but what's really important is the theories through the card synergies and why they're valuable and effective in the current meta, right? And this deck, is the definition of synergy. Everything in here works together flawlessly. First and foremost, it is the 60 card Traditional Standard, which is best of 3. There's an average mana value of 2.2. We have 23 lands only, 15 creatures to our 22 non-creatures, and a pretty decent split between green and white with a little bit of red in there as well. Swayed heavier between the green, obviously, but it's all there. The mana is super consistent. We have all the pathways which double side, so almost all of the pathways will have green on one of the sides, and then a little bit of white on red potentially if we need it. We've got some basics to pull, Seat of the Empire to deal damage, Who Endures to destroy something as well, right? So the land base is really, really nice. We don't mind that at all. As far as a 3-color deck goes, we've got it dialed in. We have 4 copies of the Naturalist, and then 4 copies of the Runeforged Champion as our, primary synergy within the deck. For 2 mana, a 2/2 with lifelink enchantment creature. Enchantments you will cast for 1 less, which is really, really exciting. So first and foremost, it's an enchantment which will trigger things like the Generous Visitor, a 1/1 for 1. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And then the Kami is a 2/2 with trample, and whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a +1/+1 on the Kami. At the beginning of the end step, if an enchantment was put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn, you may return the Kami from the graveyard to your hand. What an amazing card, right? So the deck is working together flawlessly, right? So the creatures are working with the enchantment creature and other enchantments. The enchantment creature reduces the cost of all of our other enchantments. And furthermore, Runeforged Champion for 3 as a 2/3. When it enters the play, search your library and or graveyard for a rune card. I pull from my graveyard if the rune that I want is already there, because then we can draw those other runes and retain access to them later on if we need. However, you can pull something from your library as well, and you will be pulling a card specific to your matchup, right? In a control matchup, you will need haste to attack after the field wipe to keep up that pressure. In some decks, they use chump blockers, the 1/1 tokens. You will need trample to overcome those to get that damage in and win the game. And potentially, you're facing an aggro deck, in which case we'll want Rune of Sustenance to mitigate their damage and survive. Runes may be cast for 1 generic mana rather than the runes spell, which is very good, makes the deck even more consistent with the mana base. Plus, the Naturalist reduces the cost by 1 generic mana, so this reduces it to 1. This reduces it from 1 now to 0, and we can cast the Rune of Might, the Rune of Speed, and the Rune of Sustenance all for 0. This is fantastic because they're all enchantments. They will all trigger the Visitor. They will trigger the Kami, and they will also trigger Hallowed Haunting and the Showdown of the Scald's final 2 phases, which is ridiculous. More on this later. First and foremost, Trample with Might and +1/+1. When all of the runes enter play, you're going to draw a card, which is cool because you can draw another rune, cast it for 0, draw another rune, so on and so forth. Super exciting here. Rune of Speed for haste and +1, and Rune of Sustenance for lifelink. This can be exaggerated not only through Showdown of the Skalds, as it gives us access to 4 more cards from exile, but also Commune with Spirits, looking at the top 4 cards for 1 mana, reveal an enchantment or land card from among them, put it into your hand, the rest in the bottom of your library in random order. So for 1 mana, we grab another rune, we cast it for 0, we draw another card, and keep the dream alive, which is super exciting. Showdown of the Skalds, exiling the top 4 cards of your library. You may play those cards until the end of your next turn for 4 mana, and then on your next 2 draw steps, whenever you cast a spell this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So, if you will, you'll be casting on top of the Skalds, on top of the Visitor, and on top of the Kami, all of your runes for 0, generating mass amounts of +1/+1 counters. You have the Trample, you have the Lifelink, you have the Haste. You're going absolutely to town. And then the Hallowed Haunting for 4 mana as an enchantment. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a white cleric creature token. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of spirits you control. So these actually become quite strong quite quickly. And as long as you control 7 or more enchantments, creatures you control have flying and vigilance. Oh my lord, right? So it's not super important, but if you get this out, you know, it is almost impossible to overcome for your opponent. The only thing that stops this deck is Farewell. And again, that's what Rune of Speed is for, because you'll just reassemble the army and keep going. Maybe not a choice word right now, my apologies. This is traditional standard, which means best of 3, and we've got a sideboard to talk about here. I don't know if it would be better this way. No, I don't think so. Anywho, Tamayo Safekeeping. There's 2 copies of this in the build. If your opponent has removal, they definitely will be coming for your Naturalist, for your Runeforged champion. They want to exile the Kami, get rid of the Visitor. All of our creatures in the build are massive threats to our opponent. So if we can interact with their removal, keep something alive, this is a beautiful way to do so. The same thing goes with Valorous Stance. And I like to run Stance if they as well have creatures, because then we can, you know, protect ours with the indestructible that it grants to one of our creatures, or we can destroy one of their stronger creatures, which is really good. Get that out of the way. 2 copies of Rip Apart as well, in a similar fashion, but without the protection, destroying artifact or enchantment, which is, it's pretty good in the current meta. Plus we can, you know, remove a creature. So in the mirror matches, I really like Rip Apart for the most part, because lots of the other decks and ourselves as well will use enchantments like Exile, and even the aggressive enchantments that we have like Hallowed Haunting, and it's all here. So Rip Apart is really, really good in the current meta. Catalda's Rising Dawn, you know, if there is a very aggressive deck, you know, mono green, mono red, this is fantastic because it's a good blocker. It's going to gain you lifelink, and it comes back as well, which is really cool. So, you know, just helping us sustain the damage output from some of the more aggressive decks, while not solely relying on the Rune of Sustenance and the Naturalist life gain, which, you know, is still helpful, but if you can even add more to it, it just shuts down their deck, right? And then Yasharn, Implacable Earth for 4/4/4. When it enters the battlefield, grab a basic Force and Plains into your hand, which is like whatever, who cares, then shuffle. Players can't sacrifice non-land permanents or cast spells to activate abilities. So sorry, you know, Rite of Oblivion. Get out of here, right? I don't want to see you anymore. You know, the Shambling Ghast with Deadly Dispute, stuff like this. So it really is good against those Aristocrat or Sacrifice type decks. Candle Trap, if you are on the draw and you need to stop something of your opponent's, just in general, you know, it's easy to shut down, you know, a Kami, for example, something that would come back into play if you destroyed it, but you still want to stop it from attacking you. And of course, they can sacrifice the Candle Trap to exile the enchanted creature, activate only if they control 3 or more creatures with different powers. Which is nice. So, you know, it's all right if you're on the draw and your opponent's playing something that you want to get rid of or not have attack you, I suppose, right away. The Safekeeping again, Circle of Confinement. This is the bread and butter. So lots of times only playing Candle Trap. Again, if I'm on the draw in the second game, I'd rather wait and play Candle Trap and get a, you know, semi-permanent exile, mana value 3 or less, which is basically everything that you're going to be worried about. And if it was a vampire, you're actually going to gain 2 life whenever they play a vampire if it has the same name as the exiled card, which is fairly good if you can get a vampire, but unlikely in the current meta. It's just a really nice exile here for 2 mana, potentially reducing it again down to 1. So 1 mana to remove mana value 3 or less. It doesn't get better than that. A single copy of Borrowed Time, you know, if it's 4 mana value and higher and non-lands, this is going to be our option for that. And of course, then there's that second copy of Yisharn. So we do our best throughout today's gameplay footage to break down the sideboard plays in the different matchups that we go through to demonstrate this, and it will take practice. Best of 3 is a little bit harder to lock down, but once you do, it is so rewarding. Winning a game with a sideboarded card, oh, best feeling. And of course, we talked about Seed of the Empire, we talked about Who Endures, and the land consistency here. So again, I reached Mythic rank 13 with this deck, which is absolutely insane. And I have no doubt that if you are of basically any skill level and looking to rank up, you can spend very little time with this deck and master it. It's very friendly, and you'll just need to, as a main focus, determine what kind of deck your opponent is playing, and then line up your play lines to best overcome those decks. And like I said, if they have the blockers, we want Trample. If they have field wipes, we want Rune of Speed. And if they have burn damage or, you know, aggressive attackers, we're looking for Rune of Sustenance. And then we can start to lace them on top of each other, which is really cool. So enjoy the gameplay footage, enjoy the deck, and we'll be back after that to wrap up. Don't forget that this Saturday, though, it's Community Day. Before we get there, right, we're going to be opening packs, doing giveaways, playing matches against one another live on Twitch. This Saturday, the 12th, regular stream time. I'll make a community post because I know some of you probably not in North America, but it'll be all day NA, and I hope to see you there. Make sure to like the channel, subscribe as well, maybe become a YouTube member so you can check out our newest content exclusive for our YouTube members, which is exciting. And yeah, enjoy. Alrighty, playing first. Let's go. The queue time was not quick. It was pretty slow. Going first, I'm going to risk it for the biscuit. You know, it's best of 3, so there's some wiggle room, right? And there's a turn 1 visitor, which is, like, fantastic. So, you know, if we just draw that second land, really no matter what color it is, we're off to the races. If we can draw a white source, it's even better. Oh my lord. There it is. And then, you know, wow. If we get a third land off the top, like, that's full combo. We play our Runeforge. Oh, man. There's no way. There's literally no way. Right? I'm just going to grab the land here. Right? Let's be smart about it. Doesn't necessarily have to be red, but I don't mind opening up the Scalds. If we draw the green source, we can play the Kami this turn, though. Right, and that's fairly good. We'll swing for 4. We may lose the Visitor here to a Vanishing Verse, or the Naturalist to a Grasp. Still doing 2 damage. And then the additional 2 to 4 with the Visitor. Kami in play. And that does kind of hurt us as far as playing these runes for free, because if you have both the Naturalist and the Champion out, runes will cast for 0. We should have played the red source. Shoot. Oh well. We can still generic mana the runes, which actually doesn't really matter, and I like Trample in this matchup. So we go for Rune of Might. And now what rune you pull will depend on the matchup. And we may not need Trample here. I might actually just haste and force the block. But we will want Trample eventually, right? Because this way, you know, even if they do block the 3, we're still getting that 2 damage in on the side, which is fine. Whereas that Runeforge wouldn't have been able to attack, so, you know, that's okay. We remove the blocker, and we still retain Trample here. A double Luminarch, that's definitely not a bad play. They're going to push up on a single. Oh, Lord. Lord have mercy. It really doesn't matter where we put it. Love the haste. Right? Very, very good. Oh, my. Just stop. And this is why the deck is so freaking crazy. We're casting this for 0 as well, so we still have 1 mana up. And I suppose we just toss it all over to the Naturalist. Right now it has Trample as well. We play the land. We actually can now channel this with the land play to destroy the wedding announcement. Which is... oh my lord. This is it, you guys. Now let's talk about the sideboard, right? So that's what's important. We see they have a creature-based deck. They've got some removal. There's an enchantment for tokens. The trample is very important to us. We did not see a Shambling Ghast, any form of sacrifice, so we don't need Yasharn. That's, you know, Rite of Oblivion, Shambling Ghast, Deadly Dispute. The Rip Apart is interesting as it can kill the Luminarchs. It can kill the wedding announcement. Protection from their removal. Yes, now that's what we want, right? Let's toss 2 spirits, keep our mana curve nice and tasty, right? So we know we have removal, we know we have creatures that we want to deal with, right? Luminarch Aspirants under 2 mana value, that could be the Holy Ward, right? Just deal with that. We could also Valorous Stance, right? Because these are going to become bigger, they're going to become 4/4s, plus they have the removal, so the Indestructible is not bad. Right? Indestructible, not bad for removal alongside the safekeeping. We also now are substituting some removal in if things get weird. Okay, tokens. So the trample was important. Life gain wasn't super important. Rune, because they had blockers. Of speed, not super important unless they play field wipes. But I don't think they'd play field wipes with the Luminarch. So I think that's a nice substitute out. Typically, dependent upon the situation, I'm dropping, you know, if we don't need trample, if we don't need lifelink, or if we don't need haste, it's one of those go. And then the spirits we trim as well. If there are any scary creatures, like, you know, if they start playing more creatures that our removal is not handling, we're going to take the circle, but we'll save that for game 3. Candle Trap, I don't think we need. You know, we will be on the draw right now, which is typically when we'll take Candle Trap. However, you know, we didn't see Shambling Ghast. We didn't see an opposing Generous Visitor in a mirror match. So, things like this, right? Another 1-lander. This is pretty similar, but I'm not going to risk it twice. So we toss it. We're going to keep this. It's alright. I mean, even Rune of Sustenance can probably go. Just because, you know, the Runeforge champion draws whatever rune we need. And that's fantastic. So, again, kind of sabotaging ourselves here most likely. But I don't mind, and, you know, potentially we pull that red source here as well. However, I think a good strategy to beat them is the value that Hollowed Haunting will provide if they don't have a Vanishing Verse. Which they may, and then I'll be pretty sad about this decision. But I think that, and that's not a great land draw. And like I said, I'm pretty sure we can bait them with the Vanishing Verse on the Kami. Other than the fact that they see our Haunting and now, you know, they still get to make that decision for themselves. Like, they get to prioritize with full knowledge of our expected playline. And we see regular removal here, so maybe saving the exile because it hits non-land permanent, can hit the enchantments, right? Runeforge is beautiful. Whoops. We might need the life gain. I think even a 5-color rune deck may be usable if we could add some form of discard, right? Discard and draw. Because sometimes the death touch wouldn't be that bad. I guess we probably lose our haunting here, right? I would definitely take haunting. It's a fantastic play by them. No attacks. Valorous Stance, or I guess, you know, it's that exile that we didn't take that we should have, right? Hold up our safekeeping. You're mitigating what damage they do here. We lose our safekeeping if we play the Naturalist. So we attack first and then play it. Or we could have tried to Seat of the Empire / block. 4 cards after the search. One of them's a plane, so it's just 3 unknown cards. They'll play that planes though here. I believe they've not played a land for the turn. And we have way too many lands here, right? So we're hit for 6. Oh, no attack. Interesting. Let's toss on the Naturalist, take a draw. Looking for a showdown. Let's swing for 6. We hold the Empire to take the Luminarch out. They can return it if they want. We also have the safekeeping, right? So we can deal damage and gain indestructible. Which is not bad. This will need to be a green source, so the farmland can be the white source. We retain the damage, lose indestructible, though, because we'll need 4 to use them both. But we're at 21, they're down to 11. So again, just kind of trying to find that skulls to reload our hand. Well, not necessarily our hand, but our accessible card base. Another Nganjo is good. I mean, it's a great defender. They don't have anything to bring back. Which I'm surprised they didn't stack the Luminarch to bring it back. Hitting for 7, and we let it go through if they want it. We take our turn. Runeforge out. Not too shabby. Search your library. I believe we take haste. Haste the champion for 0. Or we'll use that champion's ability, then haste that champion. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the full combo, and that was the perfect sideboard. We talked about letting that Luminarch get buff. We talked about holding indestructible if we need, or the removal. Welcome to best of 3. You made the best sideboard win. And then, of course, you have to pull it, which is great. So that was even better than a showdown of the skulls. Instead of drawing cards, just top deck the one you need instead, right? 2-0. Woof. I feel bad playing the deck, but if you want to win, this is definitely one of the easiest ways to do so. Alrighty, let's get after it. Playing first. Visitor, no land. That green land is so important to us, so it's a mulligan. Visitor with the green land. Okay. Keeping 6. So we need to turn 1 green source here. Whoops. And then we need the dual land on 3. So this can be a red source. Beautiful. No drop on... Well, I guess we could. I'm going to go for it. That land out of the way at the very least, right? Maybe let's play the red source next. If there's removal here, it sucks. No, there wasn't. Oh my gosh. It's a good start. They need to deal damage to this immediately. The 2/2 is good. Third land out. Chandra. Yikes. This is going to be a hard matchup for them.
Whoa, I've never crashed a wedding like this before.
Add 1 mana.
You're
1
lucky
damage
this
as
is a
well.
one-shot.
Showdown as soon as you can. Push up the visitor. Like, I'm tempted to go for the Runeforge there, but just showdown, because then you're getting those tokens right away. Chandra down to 1.
You're really cramping my style.
And we have a 5/5, which I don't think they're going to get it. We're 29 life. Woof, right? This is just a very hard matchup for them. We have a second visitor, and then we're the Runeforge champion with the Rune of Might lands. Oh my lord, right? They're not having any part of that. So safekeeping is a double take. Commune the Spirits. Double drop. Just creatures. I don't think that's what we want. I do think Catilda would be fantastic. Additional life gain, right? And I think, drop the Haunting, maybe. Yeah, just dropping 2 cards here. I think the safekeeping's fine. I don't think we need the stance. I don't think we really need the haste. Is going to be the same situation as last. Opponent goes first. It's slow. It's really slow. But there is life gain here. We could top deck a non-slow land on 2 for a play. Gonna mulligan, keep 6. Toss the rune, right? Champion pulls it. This is our only white source. It can enter play first. Kami goes out next. Naturalist on top of Kami. We want a rune after the champion. It'll be 3 runes potentially for free. But I'm worried. They can exile if they deal damage with the etching in play. No blocks. We take 6. Yikes. Naturalist out. Kami up. Lifelink onto Kami. Kami up again. Hitting for 4. Take the life gain just in case they have removal. They exile and transform. 3 creatures in play. You know, potentially facing more damage here as well. We need to keep our life gain alive. Big hits. For 6 damage, no blocks. Down to 10. They do get it. And that'll be an exile. We grab lifelink from the graveyard. Lifelink on the Runeforge. Oh, play the land. Play the visitor. Uh-oh! Haste for 0 on the champion, and this is because the naturalist and the champion work just so well together. Hitting for 8, down to 8. Do they have additional damage? No. Wow, we're back to now 18. We have another naturalist, which will trigger the visitor. 3 cards in their hand. Here comes a Reckless Impulse, which pulls another Reckless Impulse and a Keiju. That's going to be a hello good game, you guys. So identify, you know, what you need as far as your rune base goes, whether it's lifelink, whether it's trample, or haste because of the removal. You know, just let her rip. Literally unbeatable. That's how it feels like anyways. It's like, it's too good. Far too good. Holy Toledos. The deck just doesn't lose. I mean, it is powerful. The synergies, everything just works together so flawlessly, triggering one another. I'm tempted to play more runes, but at the same time, we don't need the death touch. We don't need the flying. It's cute, I get it, in specific matchups, but that's why we go to game 2. That's why we go to game 3, so we can make the proper adjustments to deal with those decks, because we don't need death touch, we don't need flying. What we may need is Tamael's Safekeeping and Valorous Stance, right? We might also need Circle of Confinement, Rip Apart, Yusharn. It all really depends on the matchup. I do think we did a fairly good job in the deck tech portion of the video describing each of these plays and when we'll want to sideboard them in. If you've missed that, just restart the video, right? With that being said, Community Day this Saturday, opening packs, giving cards away. We have so many cool Kamigawa Neon Dynasty cards. It's ridiculous. If you want to view that experience, it's available to the YouTube members, and we're going to be putting out new content at least every week for you guys, which is exclusive and as original as I can get it. Not your typical gameplay video, right? So, support the channel, have a magical day, and we'll see you soon in the next. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so.